Hi, my name's Betty. I'm a grateful person in recovery. I'm a divine spiritual being living a temporary human experience, and I'm making a video about transformation. So I used to be a homeless drug addict. I was a prostitute. I was very impoverished. My life was full of lack and loss and defeat. And yeah, there's a picture of who I was before in the thumbnail for this video and who I am now. And if transformation is possible for me, it's literally possible for anybody. Okay. There are no words in the human language to describe to you what kind of depraved animal I was before coming into recovery from my addictions. So I use a couple of tools in order to stay steadfast on my path of recovery. One of them is that I'm part of a 12-step program. I work the 12 steps in my life. I have some other tools as well, some spiritual tools that have sort of led me on to this spiritual transformational journey of mine. I do a lot of shadow work. If you're unfamiliar with what shadow work is, it's very popular in the spiritual community, and it's kind of dissecting the pieces of your dark and integrating them into your light, into your being. In like the Western world, there's a type of therapy that mirrors shadow work very closely. It's called parts work, internal family systems. So that's another way that I integrate some of the transformation that comes from recovery. So if you're somebody that is perceiving a struggle with substance use addiction or alcoholism or food addiction or yeah, like the list goes on, pornography, sex, masturbating, binge watching TV, distraction, scrolling through your phone. There's so many different kinds of addictions. So maybe I'll share a little bit about what I think addiction is about. So I had a very transformative spiritual experience. I had a near death like experience. I overdosed in March of 2019 and I went to heaven and I was just like chilling there with the creator. And there was two messages that were very loud and clear in my spiritual experience. One was you have to go back to earth, big time bummer, or so I thought. And then the other message was you have to stop using drugs and get onto your spiritual path. And like when I had my spiritual experience, I was an atheist. I was like this just wasn't part of my life. I was a drug addict and I was, yeah, a prostitute. So like I definitely didn't believe in anything bigger than myself because I saw that my life was very hard. Like I had a lot of challenges in my life and I felt so stuck. And I was just sort of like stuck in this bottomless pit. It just kept going like lower and lower and lower. My life wasn't always like that. Like when I started using drugs, it was like fun. It was like a party, but the dis-ease of addiction is progressive in nature. And so as I progressed, it progressed with me. It got stronger, it picked up speed, it got stronger muscles, and it became my whole identity. It was my entire personality. So yeah, like I've shared my story on many different podcasts and I've got a couple of subscribers on my YouTube. And so I'm starting to make more videos. So I want to talk about addiction because a lot of people really resonate with that. Again, doesn't need to be drugs, doesn't need to be hardcore drugs like the drugs that I was using. Like I was a heroin addict and a methamphetamine addict on top of a psychedelic addict and disassociate addict. Like I had a very long drug-a-log. Like every day was like at least 5 or 6 different drugs just to get through the day, just to wake up, just to function. So, shadow work. Let me talk a little bit about it. So these are some of the tools that I use to really understand that my addiction is not me. I am something else. I am a divine spirit here inhabiting the costume of a human for a short amount of time. And the way that I remember that is by dissecting the pieces of myself. So my addiction, I gave him a personality. He's a man. His name is Richard, and he's with me. He stays inside of a glass house inside my mind where I can still communicate with him and give him what he needs, but I can't let him run the show. And when I say give him what he needs, I mean give him love and attention and affection because he's a part of me that deserves that as well. So I gave him a name, I gave him an outfit, it's like designing like a Bitmoji. Like I did all of that for him. And this way I can tell if a thought is coming from me, my higher self, my spirit, or if it's coming from him or another part of me. So there's so many different parts. So another piece of me is my inner child. She loves to act out, like she was very wounded in childhood. I experienced a lot of trauma in childhood. So there's a version of me that's kind of like this inner child who sort of like sits with her knees to her chest on the floor. She's kind of dirty, her hair is messy, and she needs a lot of love. And so I try to like carry her on my hip wherever I go, and let her know that I'm here for her. And I'm, attempting to be the best healed parent that I can for her because she needs that. Some other parts of myself, I developed a lot of eating disorders when I came into recovery from my drug addiction. The dis-ease of addiction just manifested in another area. So it started with eating disorders, bulimia, binging and purging, exercise obsession, laxative and enema abuse, all of these different aspects. And so as far as my eating disorder goes, I've also developed all different kinds of characters for each level of the eating disorder because it's gone away in levels. And also I get really attached to other people. I have person obsession. It's called limerence. Not like it needs a name. Like I see a guy and then I'm like, okay, that guy is supposed to be with me. And then I make up a whole relationship inside my head. I get totally psychotic and I get completely obsessed. And basically I have like a fantasy life with a person who barely knows that I exist inside my mind. And I'll find myself, like in moments of like desperation or even just like feelings of loneliness or, like uncomfortability that come up, that I dive into my fantasy world instead of living in the actual world. So that's another manifestation of my dis-ease of addiction. So, I design that version of myself as well. And I'll tell you what she looks like. If you've seen Roger Rabbit, do you remember there's like a scene where Jessica Rabbit is like not Jessica Rabbit? It's like the Toontown version of her. Like she's crazy. She's got like big bug eyes. There's like hearts in the center, like big lips, and she's just like kind of gross. That's my limerence. That's my person obsession because she's just like totally out of whack. But I send her away with love. Some other pieces of myself, I have an inner saboteur, an inner critic. These are the parts of myself that say, you shouldn't make a video. You don't have anything to share. Or, like if I'm doing really well in life, like, taking the steps that I need to take to succeed at something, my inner saboteur will come in and just try to ambush me in some way. Usually it's in the form of like wrecking personal relationships. So those versions of myself also have character development around them. My inner saboteur kind of looks like the chick from The Ring. She's like gray, sunken in. She's got like greasy hair. It goes in front of her face. And now, like because we've developed a relationship with each other, she's covered in this beautiful pink light. And so she doesn't look as harsh to me as she used to, because I really wanted to banish that piece of me. Like, what good could an inner saboteur do in my life? But she is there for a purpose. She believes that she's protecting me from certain things. And sometimes those things are success and happiness because she doesn't think that I know how to handle those things. And so we work together now, like she comes on me with, she comes with me on my journey. If this all sounds totally wacky and it's not something that resonates for you, don't take it. Just leave it. But if it's something that you think could help, then like definitely look into shadow work, look into parts work. If you have a therapist, ask them if they're trained in internal family systems. And also, like I have a coaching business. If you're interested in doing some of this work with me, I would love to work with you. I feel like spirit shepherds the people that are meant for me to me. Like I don't have to go out searching for them. They find their way to me. And I'm really grateful for spirit leading me in that way as well. So yeah, I think I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about some of my own integration process. I also do all of those same tools to develop my light. So my spirit guides, my angels, my connection to the divine, my higher self, all of those pieces of myself also have very in-depth character development around them as well. And so, like my spirit guides are with me all the time. They all have names and shapes and faces. And the really cool thing about spirit guides is that they're basically like your customer service team. So like all you have to do is just call customer service and ask for help, and then they'll be there, but you have to ask. So usually what I do is I write it down, because there's nothing more powerful in this universe than taking pen to paper. There's some sort of energy that comes out of our hands. It's connected to our throat chakra, which is the chakra of truth. And as you write it, you can actually speak truth through your hands, which is why like writing affirmations is so beneficial, and sort of like writing goals and doing to-do lists and checking things off. There's power behind that. So that's one of the tools that I use as well. And yeah, I just want to say that like if you're struggling with something, please reach out. There are communities to help you. Like you don't have to go through anything by yourself. We were not meant to be alone. We were not meant to figure out things on our own. I mean, like even if you're watching this video right now, then like that's a step in a direction towards healing, you know, because like you're looking to somebody else for what they have to say. We came here in tribes, we developed in communities, and that's the way that it's meant to be. Your soul family is out there waiting for you. And if you need help with some of those tools as well, that's something that I do. So I'm going to put all my information in the chat. Please follow me on the other social media platforms. Feel free to use my calendar to schedule a session. And that's it. All right. Be wavy.